Hello everybody. Now I'd like to discuss George Herbert Mead a little bit. Right now in our reading it doesn't really indicate, but we're heading squarely into the individual era. That's the intro of sociology. Your introductory text calls micro-sociology somewhere when you took an introductory class. Even though there are rational theories of micro-sociology, we'll go into those later, George Herbert Mead sets the tone for all interactive analysis in the 20th and 21st centuries, if for no other reason than he's the first theorist to use the individual, or more importantly, the individual in interaction with another individual, as a source of social order, before it's placed in the economy or in large structures such as race or in senses of community. We visited a lot of big picture sources of social organization. Here we switch gears. We look at how this happens at the individual level. For this review, rather than set up each reading piece, I'm going to focus on the key concepts at the beginning of the chapter. Chapter 8, more importantly, how these concepts link together. The way in which this material was often written is confusing. Mind, Self, and Society, Mead's greatest book, was really a transcription of his lectures given by his students. So this is my attempt to break it down for you in terms that make sense in regular, early 21st century English. Okay. First concepts you're listed there at the beginning of your the reading here are the I and the me. Now, at first glance, this seems to be a set of confounding and confusing terms. In everyday language, they mean the same thing, right? After all, they are synonymous in everyday use. But note how they're used in English in terms, think like a grammarian for a minute. One's the subject, the other's object. For me, the main concept was that humans have the unique ability to be both subject and object. I am me is a good way to think of this. So for me, the I is a part of Mead's definition of the individual that comes closest to a person's relatively stable, relatively unchanging personality. Personality being a psychological concept more so than a social psychological one. It's constant. It is in constant internal dialogue, this I, with what Mead terms the me. Now, the me is a person reflecting on themselves as object, a person whom other persons interact with. This me is our internalized embodiment of the social world, that is, other people outside of us, and rules and so forth. The I might want to get somewhere quickly. The me is going to remember that there are speeding tickets and traffic laws and slow down. According to Mead, the me is something that is, so to speak, responding to a social situation which is within the experience of the individual. It is the attitude which others take toward him, which he assumes is an attitude toward them. When he assumes an attitude toward them, I should say. In other words, the dualistic I and me are constantly negotiating the world around us, taking information and making assessments based on this information. This is what Mead refers to when he's talking about the self. The self, okay? So how is this done? How is this selfing done? Mead, basing his work on the work of another sociologist, Charles H. Cooley, said that we orient our action not based on how others see us, which is of course impossible to know, but on how we imagine that others see us. This is called taking the role of the other. Here's an example. You're doing it as you prepare for this test. Or any test, you take the role of the other. In the case of a test, a professor, by imagining what you would do if you were them and you were writing the questions, right? Okay. So this is an ongoing process. And it's driven by an exchange of symbols that begins in infancy and continues throughout our lives. The most comprehensive system of symbols that we have is language. And we gain our sense of selves, this I and this me, both our social self and our sense of ourselves as individuals, through interaction. Hence, the school of thought that Mead starts with his analysis is often termed symbolic interactionism, because we are constantly taking the role of the others and orienting ourselves in anticipation of others, and exchanging information necessary to do so through the exchange or interaction between ourselves and others in the environment. It's symbolic in that language is a symbol system, and we exchange it. So who are these others? Now, Mead breaks them into two analytical categories. The significant other, the term that means the first people we encounter in our lives are parents, siblings, close friends. We exchange symbols of these important significant others during the formative years of our life from about birth to age 8. Then, as we mature, the generalized other, as we grow and mature, we are able to take the role of or assume the attitude of all of society. We internalize these so we don't, example, run lights. We evolve in our socialization from infancy through adulthood. Mead theorized that we first take the role of important, significant others in play. That's with an undifferentiated play with no social rules. And I think Fisher Price toys for up to about 2.5 years. As we grow, beginning about age 8, we're able to take part in team sports, where we are able to take the role of the others in terms of the formal rules associated with the game. We can take the role of not just one other in play, but many others as in a sports team. Significant symbols are systems of language on which we base our assessments of ourselves, take in or internalize the rules, and base our other oriented actions. Thank you.